Hey guys, so a student emailed me and I did not realize that the voice part on 7.1 like fades out. So I'm going to go over the last little bit of that PowerPoint on 7.1, which is on compound interest. So just stay with me and let's just take a look at that. All right, so 7.1. We went over already interest, simple interest formula, some problems with that future amount, finding the future amount. Remember, A is your future amount, P is called your principal, but it's also the present value. So if you were wanting to find the present value, all you would have to do is take your future amount and divide it by that 1 plus RT to find the present value. So whenever another example of that. All right, so compound interest is the next thing that we're going to talk about here. And in your book is use this formula. Sometimes you'll see the other formula, which is A equals P1 plus R over N to the NT. Just because what M means is how often it's compounded, and then N here represents M times T. Okay, but the book uses this one, so we'll kind of stick with this one to not confuse you guys. These represent the same thing here. So A is the amount in your bank account after it's compounded a certain amount of times per year. This really should be M here, M times per year. Rate is your percentage that's being compounded. Remember, always change to a decimal before computing. M is the amount it's compounded per year, and then N is your time periods. And remember, N is always your M times the T, okay? All right, so let's look at the next problem. All right, so let's say you want to start up your own gym. The gym costs $4,500. There's no money down, no payments for 6 months. Okay, you borrow $4,500 from the bank with a 12% interest rate, and it's compounded monthly. Okay, and you want to know what the amount will be after 6 months. Okay, so we know that P here is the amount that you start with, the amount that we're investing here or borrowing. Our R is 12%, so that's going to be 0.12 because I moved my decimal 2 places to the left. It's compounded monthly, okay? So when we're talking about compounding, you can have monthly, which would be 12 times a year. You can have quarterly, which would be 4 times a year. You can have daily, which would be 365 days a year. These are the most common ones. Annually. Annually means just once a year. Semi-annually means twice a year. Okay, so those are the ones. So monthly would be 12. And then in here is going to be your 12 times. And we're talking about 6 months. So 6 months out of a year, that's 6 out of 12 months, right? So that's 6 out of 12. So we put it in our formula. 1 plus R over, 0.12 over 12. And then this is going to be 12 times 6 over 12. Okay. When we enter this in the calculator, please excuse my dear Sally, PEMDAS. Okay, remember that. That means that you have to do your order of operations first, and P stands for your parentheses. So this has to be done first, then the exponents, which is this, and then the last thing would be multiplication. In the parentheses, division comes first. So this should be done first, then you add the 1, then you raise it to this power, and then the last thing we would do is multiply here. Now, if you notice here, you have a 12 times 6 over 12. What's going to happen is those 12s will cancel, and so you're just raising it to the 6th power. When you input this in the calculator, you should do 0.12 divided by 12, then you add the 1, then you raise it to the 6th power, and then multiply it by 4,500. So, all right, so I'm going to pull up a calculator real quick. All right, so let's clear this out. So it was 0.12 divided by 12 plus 1. And then you guys see this x to the y, okay? So that means raising it to a power, so we're raising it to the 6th power. You get this. And then the last thing we'll do is we'll multiply it by the 4,500. And we get 4,776.84. So we get 4,776.84. Okay, so this is the total amount. Now this is asking what interest. We want to know the interest. Well, this is with the interest. So if you wanted to find out what the interest was, you would subtract it from the amount that you borrowed. Okay, and then that would be 4,776.84 minus 4,500. It's going to give you 276.84. That would be the amount of interest. Okay, so that's how you do a compounded problem. And if you guys have any questions on any of this kind of stuff, please let me know. There's a few more examples in your book. There was one more example after this one. I decided to take that out, so don't worry about that last example. All right. Thank you, guys.